everyone! This week we're doing something a little different. Instead of playing and reviewing a game, I looked over the Game Developers Conference and International Game Developers Association survey results for the current state of the game industry. The GDC results were for 2020 and focused more on platforms and what audiences game devs were focusing on. Meanwhile, the IGDA was a survey from 2019 and focused more on inclusivity, diversity, and treatment within the industry. Overall, I've got to say most of the information pretty much confirmed what I kind of knew about the game industry already. Like I said earlier, the GDC survey focused on the kind of platforms and streaming services game devs are focusing their attention on. For the most part, the percentages of those made a lot of sense. The PlayStation 4 tended to beat out Xbox One and the Nintendo Switch, while PC continued to outrank pretty much everything in terms of interest for development. Honestly, this holds really true to what I've experienced as someone who's fairly interested in what titles are going to be released with each next-gen announcement. Overall, PC is a lot more accessible to a wider range of people. I'm not going to pretend to know the differences in making a game function properly for console versus PC, but by purely looking at it from a widest audience angle, PC makes sense that it continues to beat out the competitors by a landslide in terms of interest. Interest for the Xbox and PlayStation 4 sat comfortably in the 20 to 30% range. Switch was around 10 to 20, and PC held its throne at roughly 50% interest from game devs. These percentages included previous title releases, planned releases, as well as what platforms developers were interested in pursuing at some point in their career. While most of the information and statistics reflected what I felt I knew, there were a couple of things that I wasn't really expecting, the main one being the average response for work week. I have a friend who used to work for Epic Games up until the end of the summer, and I asked him about what his work week was like, and he pretty much scoffed at how the answer for average work week was 40 hours. From his experience, he was lucky if his minimum was 45, and crunch was pretty safely going to be 80 to 90. Now, in his situation, he was on crunch pretty much constantly, since Epic was always releasing new seasons of Fortnite every few months. The other info that surprised me was from the IGDA's informatic. The top company people wanted to work for was Nintendo, which, from an outside perspective, kind of seems obvious, but I can pretty safely say I would never want to work for Nintendo. Nintendo of America doesn't really develop games. If you're working for them, you're working on localization and Q&A in terms of making sure the game flows for a Western audience. The branch of Nintendo that's actually developing the titles we know and love, like Splatoon and Mario Kart, is pretty much exclusively Japanese. Everything I've heard about working for Nintendo has been mostly negative, but it's honestly for the same reasons I wouldn't really want to work for Disney or DreamWorks. They're just too big. I don't want to be a cog, personally, no matter how good the games that come out of the machine are. This is not to slam the people that this lifestyle works for, and this is where their passion lies. It's just not mine. Overall, though, after reviewing this information, my position on wanting to work in the game industry hasn't changed at all. I love video games. I'm fully aware of the monetary hardships and unpredictable schedule that can come along with it. I went into college knowing full well that I would be looking at mostly freelance and contract work. I'm okay with that. It's what I love. It may be hard and stressful, but all in all, I want to tell stories, and I love the way that video games can accomplish that. Well, I guess that's it. Thanks for listening.